Presidential candidate Moon Jae-in has arrived at Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square to give a victory speech after two major challengers in the election conceded defeat.
The
result was a great victory for great people who wanted to create a country of justice, where rules and common sense prevail. I will be a president for all South Koreans.
Liberal politician Moon Jae-in is looking to secure an expected victory. Media exit polls projected him to take over 40% of the vote, way ahead of his nearest challenger. His win would end nearly a decade of conservative rule and bring a more conciliatory approach towards the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Moon's potential win will also end months of political turmoil that led to the ouster of former conservative president Park Geun-hye. Let's get you an update on that story. I'm joined live from Seoul by CGTN's Jack Barton. Jack, we know it's late that side, but what's the latest coming out of these South Korean elections?
Well, the ballots are still being counted. We're hearing from the Electoral Commission that 75% of the ballot papers have now been counted. So really there is a very clear idea emerging that Moon Jae-in is indeed going to be the winner. It's not official yet, but it does seem very clear. We were just down at Gwanghwamun Square when he gave that speech. You know, as we just heard, they're saying that he wanted to be the president, not just for the people that voted for him, but for all South Koreans. And it was essentially a victory speech, even though the ballots hadn't been counted. And in fact, at that point, it was only around a quarter counted. It very much sounded like a victory speech. We also heard earlier from his two closest rivals who said they would accept the results and not dispute them. They weren't officially defeat speeches, but it certainly sounded like that as well. What happens next is the Electoral Commission will be meeting overnight, not just to finish counting the votes, but also looking for any irregularities. But no one has complained about them so far. Certainly none of the other candidates have said they suspect there are irregularities in the voting here. They've said that somewhere between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning local time, they will make a final decision. They will announce who the next president will be. And then the process will really be rushed through. Normally there would be a transition, but they say the next president, and we are believing it's going to be Moon Jae-in at this point, will be sworn in almost immediately. There may be a ceremony in a few days due to security reasons, but he will effectively become an acting president immediately.
And what's the significance of this vote on the international front?
Excuse me. The significance is enormous, particularly because of the tensions on the Korean Peninsula. They have calmed down a little bit over the past week, but you know, 2 weeks ago there was almost there was talk around of there potentially being war. The United States has become very proactive on this because now that the DPRK is developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, the US sees this as a domestic defense policy, not just a regional defense policy. And so, you know, here even conservatives feel there's a level of disengagement and the US is moving away with this assertive policy. Moon Jae-in wants to completely bring that back in. He believes that this is an issue that should be settled on the Korean Peninsula with talks between Seoul and Pyongyang, and that is how this should be resolved. He's even talked about face-to-face negotiations with Kim Jong-un, and he says that Pyongyang should receive financial assistance if it guarantees to give up its nuclear weapons program. But, you know, critics are saying that the tools he's talking about using, like financial incentives and dialogue, they were tried, you know, back in the 1990s, the early 2000s. Still, the DPRK pressed ahead with its nuclear program. And, you know, they point out that Kim Jong-un has tested more missiles than his father and grandfather put together. So many people here remain skeptical about whether this is going to work. But a lot of the younger generation here seem very keen to give this, you know, the idea of more dialogue, opening dialogue again, moving back away from the sanctions, giving that a second chance. But it is going to cause tensions with the big defense partner here, which is the United States.
All right, Jack Patton joining us live from Seoul. Thank you.